Let's shift over to the tech side of things. Tesla, solar power, many other Elon Musk ventures have been detailed in so-called master plans of years past. Elon now teasing his vision for the next step. That would be Master Plan Part 3. And for more on that, let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Pras, Submaranian. So Pras, what is included in this Part 3 of his master plan? I know that he wants to kind of loop in the universes of the Boring Company and perhaps other ventures. Does that suggest maybe a holding company is coming soon?
Yeah, Brian, the future is sort of up in the air in that regard with a structural change possibly for Tesla. We'll see. But you mentioned part one and part two, right? Part one is about building a low volume car that will scale up to a high volume car that'll eventually pay for operations. Part two is about developing a solar program with batteries and solar cells to kind of make a home charging situation, and also scale up on your self-driving and autonomous type of activity. Now, part three is it's about mass industrialization, right? It's about scaling to extreme size, shifting humanity from fossil fuels, et cetera. Also talking about SpaceX, Tesla, and Boring Company. So that we're going to hear more about that structure, Brian, like those three companies kind of working together. But I think the big thing here is mass industrialization. Basically, how do you scale to extreme size? And it's sort of self-evident at this point, right? We look at what they've been doing at gigafactories, making everything, limiting suppliers and costs because you're making everything in-house. You're expanding to new factories like Shanghai, Berlin, Austin, maybe even a new factory in China. You're seeing them actually really ramp up from a scale point of view from, let's say, 1 million vehicles to possibly 2 million vehicles produced in the next year. We're also talking about, casting techniques. How do they build parts, more simpler, bigger parts, injecting the battery into the structure to make that a more structural part, but also a cheaper part to make. And then also we're talking about, the actual batteries themselves, acquiring the materials that you need to make them and not requiring a supplier like a Panasonic or a CATL to do that for you. One thing I want to note, Brian, is Adam Jonas at Morgan Stanley also kind of highlighted some things that he wanted to hear more about. In addition to this, how does SpaceX, the Boring Company, and Tesla work together? He wants to hear about, are we going to hear about, aviation and eVTOLs or electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles? It's, because Tesla, that's sort of in their wheelhouse of making vehicles and things like that actually use batteries and motors. So why not apply that in a aircraft situation? And lastly, AI, robots, all the other sci-fi stuff that Elon has sort of been teasing and talking about. Are we going to hear more about that when Elon finally reveals that Master Plan 3?
Yeah, it's really nuts, Pras. I was looking at the Master Plan 1, and that was 2006. At the time, he was talking about the competitors in the kind of alternative fuel space. The Honda FCX, you remember that one, Pras? Did you ever drive that?
Is that the hydrogen fuel Honda? I did not.
That was. It looked terrible. It looked like it was like a toaster on wheels, but I guess a relic of the past, if you will.
With the weird fairings in the wheels, kind of like just like a whole like wagon type thing.
Exactly. A while ago. But Yahoo Finance's Pras, Subramanian. Thanks so much for the breakdown there.